Picture yourself and 213 of your close friends on a slow boat to China. The suit that you're wearing has cantaloupe stains. Yuck. And suddenly, someone is serving you papers. And who knows what he has for brains? I certainly do not. Incidentally, over there by the Statue of Libertines, is that a bird or a plane or something else entirely? I think the announcer knows. It's Lucy in the Sky with Dobermans. No doubt about it.
Greetings, colleagues across town and across the globe. Here we are on the 18th of August in the year of our Lord 2022. How about that for a numerological punctuation mark? I'm Paul Colby, your host for one of the most daring and provocative news stories on the air, here or anywhere. Every time we get together, which is about once a month, my investigators and I show you the stories behind the stories behind the stories. And tonight is no exception. I've brought with me three of the most talented researchers in the business, and I'd like to introduce them to you tonight. First of all, my friend and colleague for many years, Mr. Tim Pestuous. Tim is the leader of a group that is widely known as No Fun for Zebras. It is called that because I think Tim has some sort of a grudge with the zebra population.
Yeah, screw the zebras.
Okay, the zebras apparently humiliated you at some point in your youth, or?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess you don't really want to talk about it any more than that. All right. Okay. With regard to No Fun for Zebras, what kind of things do they do for fun that you keep them from doing?
Intramural dodge bowling.
They like that.
They do.
Okay. All right.
And screw them.
Okay, No Fun for Zebras. You're also, on a more serious note, I guess some of you would consider it more serious, Tim is the director of the Center for the Study of Other Centers. I am told that you keep a close eye on the Center for Centrist Reporting.
I do. I have to be right down the middle. Everything, you know. I can't pick a side. I got to look both ways when I cross the proverbial political trenches.
I see. Okay, so you are the definition of a centrist. Your center is located there in the Hardley Everglades. I think that's in Van Motor County in Florida, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just parachute in right off the dock.
Okay, and your center is famous. You are considered a pioneer of chili receptions. And that has something to do with the flora and fauna in the area?
Yeah, you just, you scoop it out and when you cook it up and whoo, you never know.
You never know what's in that chili.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the kitchen's right next to the bathroom.
Okay. Your book is raising some eyebrows, but I guess partly because you're talking about secrets that you learned in prison, and I guess that has something to do with the flora in the... Well, just tell me, what is the biggest secret you learned from prison?
Clenching. Good defense is a good offense.
Right, okay. And you are responsible for a TV documentary, I think it's called Walking Styles and Clickbait, How God Overruled the Big Boys in the Insect Kingdom. Mm-hmm. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of letters. It's a valuable book when you're playing Scrabble. That's why I write.
Okay. So that's tempestuous. You probably know of him, even if you don't know him personally like I do. And another person I know personally that you don't is a politician. Paula is relatively famous in some parts of the world. She currently serves as an illegal analyst for the U.S. Chamber of Compost, right?
It's actually coerced, but to be fair, like compost is probably pretty accurate.
Okay, and you've been a lobbyist for a lot of years for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy working in lobbies. I don't know if you've like ever been into an office building, but it's the only nice part of the building, so I just kind of stuck with working there.
Okay, you've worked with unions a lot. For example, especially the first one I know about, the union of a man and a woman.
Yeah, that started off in what, like 1984. I think we had like 2 members, and now it's up to like over 20,000, and I mean, it's whatever.
Okay, just so that I'm clear, you are also hosting the America Can't Dance TV show right now, right?
Yeah, that's true. And
You can dance though.
I mean, when I feel like it, sometimes I dance, but you know, just kind of
Okay, so it's
just bob my head.
it's relatively static, that show. You'd think it was mobile, but it's pretty static.
Take it on the road, sister.
Yeah, right.
Okay, he's funny that way.
Awesome. This dude's awesome.
Listen, I have just been aware, because I was invited, you do seminars on new uses for rubber hoses at the Center for the Study of Sinners that study other sinners like his.
Yeah, we're colleagues. He's like the only person there who's not a total fascist. So he's like the one guy I like working with.
Okay, your book, the present bestseller that you have, Using Car Problems to Save a Marriage, excuse me, not a management.
It's all good, man. It's all
Is that based on real events or?
well, personally, like I think marriage is a sham. So it's just based on observation of like, you know, this breeder behavior I see, and yeah, usually like the car thing factors into it pretty heavily.
Okay,
so.
you're also the narrator of a documentary that I have recently seen. It's called Buildings I Know Nothing About, but you don't say very much in that documentary.
Yeah, that is true because I don't know anything about the buildings, my dude.
Okay, I guess when you find out more about the buildings, we might have a sequel. Yeah. So that's politician. And I have another investigator with me tonight, Bob and Weave. Bob is the founder of a company and a social movement called Songs of Triumph. And I understand that you created this. You write original words and music for people who have their little triumphs.
Well, to be fair, boss, and I don't want to be contentious, although I did dabble in contentiosity religion when I got out of Catholic school, but to these folks, these are just going to the dentist is a major triumph for these people. So we don't want to be condescending towards these.
Okay,
people. I don't want to start the show with.
I didn't mean to be condescending, but I mean, I know a guy who changed a flat tire, and you wrote a song of triumph for him.
Yeah, that was it was actually sung by a Doors backup band, so it worked out well for all involved.
Okay, you are sometimes called the first man on Mars who hasn't been there yet. But I understand that's not really true.
Yeah, that's actually not correct, although I do embrace the title. But actually, my father was, or when I was a kid, he scouted construction locations, so we actually spent a few summers on Mars. But to be honest, boss, I didn't really like it. The only fast food you can get on Mars is tacos prepared by those little Bugs Bunny Martian people.
Okay, well, I imagine it's changed a little now, but when you were a teenager, you became a relief pitcher for the Salt Lake City Raiders.
That's correct.
And you were a very promising relief pitcher, excuse me, but I understand your career was cut short.
Yes, it was actually a tragic chess accident, boss, where I was playing the King's Indian Defense, and I played a little bit of a gambit off it. And actually, what happened was my opponent at the time. It's a little known fact that Putin was actually a famous chess player when he was younger, and so I suddenly came down with symptoms that mimicked nerve gas or nerve agent exposure. So I've always been a little suspicious about that.
And so that if I am understanding correctly, that's why, or that's what inspired you to write the book on eye exercises for foolishly dressed men and women and professional golfers and so on.
And because of the damage done there, it did affect my vision. And in fact, what kicked it off, I went to Africa on safari, and I was unable to distinguish one zebra from another. So that showed me that so I started with a simple eye exercise like this.
Okay,
and my colleagues they've both read the book, and they've done some. Tim here is one of he's done some amazing eye exercises, as he's now demonstrating.
Okay,
and Paula also has eye exercises.
Okay.
So they're fully supportive. Of course, I did give them the author's discount when they bought the book. But,
well, thank goodness you gave them a discount, because I didn't get one. I had to pay full price.
Well, you make the big bucks, to be honest, boss.
Okay. You're not supposed to say that on the air.
Yeah.
People will be trying to email me. Anyway, one last thing. You are the subject of a film. It's Horace Nitro's new film, I Left My Heart in Laguna del Rey. But if I get this, I've heard this, maybe you can confirm it. You also left your esophagus in Culver City, and you left your spleen in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, that's true, and I didn't realize that until I returned to Kentucky. And I also left another vital body part in I won't go into details. It was in Clark County outside Las Vegas, but you may be able to put the details together.
Okay. I guess that's all we need to know about that.
Yeah, it's probably a little too much information.
Yeah, too much data there. But speaking of data, let's look at some of the big things going on around the world, because I know you're all paying attention and you'd like to hear the story behind the story behind the story. So let's talk first about the big news from Mar-a-Lago, which involves a document request to go get some stuff from the former president's home office. Now, you're looking right now at that document request. I found it fascinating. The Justice Department is looking for fence labeling equipment and Bitcoin recipes and hacienda pictures. I don't know what that is. Optional religious wardrobes. Huh? How about that? I bet you've never seen that in an official government document request, especially one that results in a comprehensive search of the property. But as for comprehensive search of the property, I got to tell you the truth that when they went to Mar-a-Lago, they were looking for some documents, and apparently there was at the very same time a big plumbing problem because a whole lot of toilets in that county, and specifically in that presidential residence, were clogged up. I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that the president has been known to flush documents, you know, that he didn't want to read anymore. But anyway, okay. What did they find, however? Well, let's back up a minute. Do you remember when Joe Biden came into office, and when he went to the White House, one of the first things he said was, "Where is all of the furniture?" Well, I'll tell you where some of it seems to have gone. Look at what was found in the basement. We have, you've heard discussions, but we have pictures, and look down there in the basement, all of that furniture. That's what the FBI found, for one thing. Look at the next thing they found. They found a bunch of shoes. Mostly looks like women's shoes. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything. They also found a set of notebooks. Now, Paula, you were telling me that when you saw those binders, you wondered if there was one about...
yeah, are any of them binders full of women? Like, are these leftover from the almost Romney administration?
You've got a point there.
There was so much furniture. It was like a throwback to the Ottoman Empire.
The
Ottoman
Empire.
Wow. Oh, that's total heaviosity, dude.
That's
Didn't I tell you that guy's awesome? I love this guy.
Yeah. You know, another thing they found a box of phones. These apparently belong to the Secret Service. That's what I'm told. And you're looking at a picture right now. They have well, it says the contents are deleted, and for more information, you need to get in touch with Trump 2024. So, whatever that means, I'm a little suspicious about what they found there. But what they found out about Mar-a-Lago is even more compelling. They got the sales document from when Donald bought this property in Florida. It's near the Hardly Everglades, where your center is. And in this sales document, the property is called Mar-a-Lago. Interesting, isn't it? Mar-a-Lago. Well, there was an article just recently in the Reptile Photography magazine. I got a copy of it from a friend of mine who gets this in the mail, and apparently the entire property at Mar-a-Lago is plastic. You see what I'm saying here? It's not real. It's plastic. And how you tell me that Yoko Ono was somehow involved here.
I believe I got that information from Paula, who's kind of our resident music expert, that the Yoko Ono and the Plastic Band was
Yoko
somehow
Ono
involved.
Like, true fact, Yoko Ono was the first person to ever step on a Lego, and that's kind of where their sound came from, like with the deep primal anger expressed, and the name, the Plastic Ono Band. I mean, it's all right there. It's just not inherently obvious right away.
You just have to watch this show, boss, to get valuable information like that.
I mean, this is the first I've heard of that. And I thought I knew something that the rest of the world didn't know. But
I find her Lego commentary very colorful.
Yeah, and it's not for squares either. People are saying, and you've probably heard some of these people saying it, there must have been an informant in the Trump camp who told the FBI that there were a bunch of documents down there. Now, Tim, you told me that you know something about this informant. who he might be?
Are you talking about the delivery?
I'm talking about the delivery, man. That's how you portrayed it to me.
I mean, you know, sort of. There's some signs, and you go down an alleyway, and you know, maybe there's a phone booth that happens to be outside the ballroom. You know, you never know when you encounter that kind of opportunity.
When you told me the story before, you said that he brought some garbanzo beans and some ukulele strings, and one of the lawyers there said, just take them down to the basement, and that's where he saw the sign, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that sign, we've got that, don't we? Yeah, it even says that there are some secret documents, and so he stumbled on them.
So I heard. I mean, it was, you know, a friend of mine, and he said that the password is, what's the difference between a garbanzo bean and a chickpea? I've never seen a garbanzo bean on Trump's face.
Ooh.
Okay.
That was sick, dude.
Now, boss, I actually heard a slightly different. I heard Deshaun Watson may actually be involved in all of this. He had heard that Bob Kraft found a good place to get a massage, and so he stumbled onto Mar-a-Lago, and he was actually looking for documents that would lead him to good massage therapists, and he stumbled on the top secret documents.
Yeah. Well, one thing that people are saying, newscaster type people, are saying that this is really all about sensitive documents that are viewed in SCIFs. And a SCIF, of course, is a sensitive, compartmented information facility. That's what a SCIF is. But it's being twisted by the Trump folks who are saying that it is really a sensationalized, composted, interesting word, internet free-for-all. But I remember SCIFs as being some kind of little boat thing from my time in Louisiana. But anyway, I am told that the latest version of the truth from the Trump campaign is that there was a SCIF right there in the backyard of Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, we got a picture of it. That's a SCIF. I'm not sure which building was the SCIF, but
sounds like a so-called informational free-for-all to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. Anyway, you would think these things would bother somebody like Donald Trump, but no. He was recently deposed in New York, and for about 4 hours, as I understand it, he just said same answer, meaning I'm taking the fifth, you know. And it's just like these guys, they're selling the DVD of 4 hours of saying same answer. They're going to make some money on it, I suppose.
He also doesn't like using the word deposed because he thinks he's still on the throne, so he gets very upset if someone uses the word deposed around him.
And he also doesn't like the idea that the mobsters use the Fifth Amendment. He says, I'm not a monster. Well, you know, he's drawing distinctions. For example, other than suborning witnesses and destroying documents and telling outright lies, he's saying, I'm not like those guys.
Right, and he also doesn't like to use the Fifth Amendment because it's only the number 5. So he actually, I believe, claimed the 50th Amendment because that's much more bigly than the Fifth Amendment. But
yeah, you know, one thing about it is his tax problems still remain, and you were probably watching TV this afternoon and found out that one of his accountant-type persons is going to plead guilty. We've got a letter. Nobody else has seen this that I know of. This is a letter to Mr. Bowser Hoodoo of the tax authority in New York, and we don't know who it's from because that's redacted. But he's saying that the Trump organization only made $46 for the year 2015 because they spent $85 million on pest control
And ketchup.
and ketchup.
Yes.
Um, their properties, I understand, were overwhelmed with an invasion of what, zebras?
Ah,
I'm sorry, excuse me, Zebras. And you know, it costs a lot of money to get rid of a
So,
Zebra infestation. But
So, boss, if these, sorry to interrupt, but if this information was redacted, does that mean somebody nefariously redacted it first before it was in fact redacted? I think,
You'll have to-
I think we need to ask these
You'll
kinds
have
of
to-
questions.
you'll-
hold on. You're sounding gruntled, okay? I mean, take it easy.
you're going to have to ask my lawyer about that one. Anyway, Donald is not really worried because if he has to leave politics, he's already got a TV gig set up. And I don't want to be a spoiler, but let me kind of give you an overview of the first year plot for this new series, The Art of the Steal. You have this, and in this, Donald Trump plays President Artful Dodger, who is a president who has never been able to get to 50% of the popularity in the country. He knows he's going to lose, so he starts telling everybody that the only way he can lose is if somebody else cheats, which is, of course, ridiculous on its face. But then, to prove that this could happen, he assembles a bunch of lawyers who will say almost anything, and a guy who makes pillows who'll say anything, and a guy who can't remember what it's like to be a lawyer who will say anything.
There's a melting guy, right?
Yeah. And ultimately, by the end of the first season, he's saying that the people, well, even though he's stealing the election, he's saying somebody else is stealing it. And that is the art of the steal.
Well, you know, this at least seems believable because as far as the approval ratings, I don't think he even ever got a 50% approval rating from any of his wives.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, we're not even close to 50% on that front, is what I've been told.
And
front,
Bob,
being
Bob,
the operative word there.
Bob, you tell me that the series went by a different name when
Yeah,
they
it
were
actually started.
developing it?
Well, originally they wanted to film it at a lawn and garden shop, and then you would steal the actual lawn and garden implements, and the working title was actually You Can Steal This. So, but The Art of the Steal, I think, is a far better title than Actually You Can Steal This. But
well, I got to tell you that it's just puzzling to me that it could be so simple, but I mean so simple and yet so obvious.
I'm just thinking about, wait, it's in a lawn and garden store?
yes.
So, the concept to me just brings up, maybe it's in Alaska, right? And it's called, There's No Place Like Nome.
Ooh, I like the way you think. You're
Sometimes.
right. He's the best, man. So.
Boy, I tell you, they must have something in the water out there in the Hardly Everglades.
So will permafrost be a critical element in this?
I think so. I think we need to get cracking on this idea.
Yeah.
Let me just move things along here. While Donald Trump may be, riding high and just moving on to another income stream, some of his associates are not doing so well. For example, Scott Perry just had his phone seized by the FBI. The message on the phone that they were interested in, I don't quite get it. He's looking for a recipe for Bitcoin. I think we'll say more about that, but I don't understand this. Alex Jones, another supporter of the president, he's been having some legal problems. I understand he is moving his TV show, Info Mars, off planet, and I think they're changing the name of it to I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah, he's actually one of the vacation sites, or one of the sites my dad set up when we used to go to Mars. He's actually going to relocate there because he's actually a big taco fan. Although the visual of Alex Jones losing his shirt is
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, no.
Please.
Gnarly. No.
I think they're going to
no,
keep the
bro.
theme of litigation, so it's just going to remain Big Sewer.
Then we have Josh Hawley. You have probably seen pictures of him in motion, like moving like a rabbit, or is it a hare? I don't know which, but moving very rapidly across the Capitol to get out of the way of some patriots who were visiting there on a vacation.
yeah, they were tourists, right, boss?
Tourists, yeah. Some tourists who seem to be threatening to him. In any case, he's opening a new shoe store, and we have a picture here. It seems like we've seen a picture like this before. He got a bunch of shoes from, well, they're all women's shoes. They seem to come from like a White House, a basement in Florida somewhere.
And those are in fact Melania's cast-offs. So
Cast-off, is
I
that
think the name of the store will be
I thought it was-
Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. But yeah,
They're not flip-flops then. They're,
Got some Imelda issues, I'm just saying. I mean, I know that's like a deep dive throwback, but
okay. Also, another colleague of Trump's across the waters, Boris Johnson, got booted out of, a position of authority in the UK, but he's actually doing pretty well. He's released a new CD as Jack the Rapper. It's called Who Wants to Know, but it's not clear who wants to know what. When she found out about Boris Johnson being kicked out of his position as Prime Minister, Marjorie Taylor Greene volunteered to lead the Green parties in Europe. Of course, I don't think she was taken seriously, at least not by the Greens. And in that regard, somebody else had their phone stolen when they were asking for a recipe of how to make Marjorie Taylor Greene's. Very puzzling to me. There is something's going on there that I don't understand. But I do know this. Marjorie Taylor Greene got in big trouble when she said the FBI should be denuded, right?
she may have said just nuded, but because
Well,
she really wanted, in her mind, to get to the bare truth. But I'm
well,
perhaps
maybe she said defunded, or was it refunded? You were trying to explain to me that she got refunded because the FBI loaned her some money to start a business.
Well, it came from a guy named Gingrich, and so I think it was actually, she wanted it denuded.
Denuded. Okay, but she was starting a shoe shine business, and then you say it changed into a bootlicking business?
Well, yes, because she teamed up with a certain senator from Arizona. So yes, she went from bootlicking to, screwing up a bill in Congress.
Right. Okay. And screwing up a bill in Congress, that reminds me, it's always the economy, stupid, right? So let's talk a little bit about the economy right now, because a lot's going on. One thing, we mentioned Bitcoin in passing, but Bitcoin, this is the way I understand it. The world needs more grain, and for example, Ukraine was not able to supply grain for a while, so our scientists, or somebody's scientists, got together and created a new kind of wheat, well, a substitute, an ersatz wheat called Bitcoin, and it's being widely used right now in place of things that are not available, because of all of the supply chain things. But even with the supply chain issues, there was a terrific job report the other day. In fact, I'm seeing all sorts of jobs that are going wanting for, you were telling me, like we see here, Steve jobs. You were telling me you got a Steve job?
Yeah, they did. Now, like, they haven't told me what it is yet. There is, of course, a ton of hype, though, leading up to it. Like, there's a whole countdown, and it's supposed to be super rad. So they said we'll have, like, a big launch day for whatever the job is, but, like, they haven't told me anything. I can't even get a leak about what it is.
Okay. Nut jobs I know about, and a whole lot of people are signing up for nut jobs. And wet jobs, I guess that's because most of the country is in drought now, and some people are pretending that they have a line on water.
Yeah, and there's this whole study on manual labor, and they haven't come up with a good nickname for that.
Okay. And hand jobs,
Yeah, they were actually, boss.
You were
Since
saying about
Deshaun Watson got suspended, he's in the market for some more hand jobs.
More hand jobs. Okay. Gas prices has been on everybody's mind, or gas prices have been on everybody's mind. So I want to give you several theories about why gas prices were so high. And the first one doesn't even seem to be about gas, although you were telling me when they add things to gas, it's like roughage to...
Yeah, they've actually, what's going on, boss, it's a little bit complicated, bear with me, but they found that if they use roughage as the catalyst in a fluid cat cracking unit, you get a higher yield of gasoline. But they are having a little bit of trouble separating the roughage from the gasoline. So as in all things refining, when in doubt, sell it as is. But it is leading to a higher increase in smelly H2S emissions.
Okay, so let me explain something.
That was beautiful.
It did posit a new order of poetic monstrosity, I think. Let me explain something about what was added to the gasoline by way of roughage. That would be Impacto. Now, some of you, I know, some of you out there are taking Impacto, and the way that it's being marketed on TV, this is a drug that has all the popular side effects that you can get with other prescription drugs, but it doesn't actually treat anything. So I was just looking the other day at the advertising. I mean, this is something that gives you itching, shortness of breath, thoughts of suicide, odd bowel movements, dreams of puffiness, memories of life in a convent, worship of magical oats.
That is just like my afternoon meditation sessions.
Yeah. So anyway, they've been putting this in the gasoline. I understand everything that's associated with big pharma means more money. You know, it's more expensive, so they put that. But number two theory about why gasoline prices went up, you know, right through the roof. You'll remember during the discussion about ballots being switched in the recent election. Well, it turned out that there was a guy in Italy associated with some Department of Defense something or other, and he was able to change votes from Biden to Trump via that satellite. And apparently, he developed, he or she, I don't know, developed a similar situation or proxy element device by which he could press a button and the price of gas would go up at tanks all over America.
I believe that's true, boss. What I've heard is it was actually a residual from the Y2K. Remember the Y2K computer issue? They had an old Fortran program, and since nobody does Fortran anymore, they can't. The anti-spy software doesn't find that, so he essentially used a 22-year-old Fortran program to change gas prices. I'm convinced of it.
I am now that you've explained it. But another thing that was explained to me by a politician who's been in the world of politics forever, she pointed out a graph that I somehow miss this. Every time that the gas prices go up, the gas lighting goes up.
Yeah, exactly. There's like, you can kind of see you know, I know correlation does not equal causation, but there seems to be a pretty big spike there all at the same time.
Hey, boss, do you have a map for reference?
I think we're talking about here in the USA.
Yes, that's what I meant.
That
okay.
one?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So this is what we're talking about.
Thank you.
And by the way, I was telling you about how people tried to plant evidence. In various places, like in Mar-a-Lago. I planted some evidence last week, and it's already coming up.
Oh yeah,
So-
it rolls really nice.
Doesn't Pacto help it grow, or is that?
Well,
does it
actually,
impede it?
it's like a crude. How does that go? A crude. I mean, that's what I'm using it in. I got the recipe from Dr. Osborne.
This guy knows all about the crudité.
Well, I believe that it's more than just I'm crude. I don't know that.
Well,
crudité.
I heard that Donald Trump was having a tete-a-tete with his crew, and somehow they mixed up their communications, and they sent some messages about a crudité.
Or was it a
And-
coup d'etat?
A crudité, yeah. It was one of those.
Tasty.
It was one of those. Anyway, that's why I'm growing my own evidence. I planted it, and it's coming up. Anyway, more about the economy. Airlines have been having a problem. They don't have enough people, they say, to staff their facilities, meaning airports, or even to staff their vehicles, like their planes. And I'm not just talking about airline stewardesses, I'm talking about pilots. And so they have come up with a new scheme. You've heard about driverless cars and stuff.
Oh, I'll bet it's monkeypox, right? Because that would be a staph infection.
The staff is infected, yeah. But let me see if I can clear up the confusion here. No, I think you're right. Yes, it was a staph infection. So much for that. And also, echo chamber. You've been hearing for a long time now that people are the way they are because they only listen to things in their echo chamber. And some entrepreneurs have figured out a way to really capitalize on this echo chamber phenomenon. I downloaded this app the other day where you first of all select your age range, and of course if you're not even in puberty yet, you really don't qualify for an echo chamber.
Who has an echo chamber down there?
Have you heard of belly buttons?
Yeah.
Okay.
I never listened to it though.
Well, yeah. Well,
I can't reach.
His book on eye exercises explains how you focus on the belly button.
Okay.
And all right.
You have to get your chakra into the Aquarian state.
Okay.
Okay. So as I was saying, you can pick your political leaning, and they have quite a few here. For example, when I downloaded the software, I chose I am the new religion. That kind of, that worked for me. But you might try something more normative. As for inflation, because we're talking a lot about inflation these days, what are they doing? I'm talking about the Biden administration. What are they doing to deal with inflation? Well, the first thing they're doing is they're using smaller fonts when they report on it. And this has the effect, as you can see right here, of inflation appearing to be reduced.
Inflation's reduced?
He understands, right?
Yeah, I mean. Yeah.
His way of understanding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He just works differently than the rest of us, boss.
So,
Like,
so let's talk.
don't harsh his mellow. Like, just saying.
Yeah. Shrinkflation is another side of the subject. Maybe that's what you're trying to get to. I have found what you see with people, big corporations, if they had a product that came in a 12-ounce container, now they simply reduce the container size, and you don't realize you're only getting 10 ounces now. You're paying the same thing, but the companies that don't have a lot of money, they can't afford to change their packaging. So, for example, I am always looking for Uncle Hugo's carpet stainer, but I realized the last time I bought it, they're not even filling up the jar.
So, boss, I've heard actually there may be good news on that front, because with global warming, the water is getting much warmer, so shrinking packages just aren't as big a problem as they are with cold water. So I think there's some hopeful news on that front.
Is that sort of like gaslighting?
I mean, probably, yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose you could gaslight a lot about that stuff, but eventually the truth comes out.
Oh, it always does.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
all
can
right.
only
Yeah,
hide
yeah.
the shrinkage
Yeah,
for so long.
You want to shrink your package, dip it in cold water.
Crudity. That's what
That's our middle name here, boss.
Yeah, crudity. Now, let me go to one more point here about inflation. Since it's hard to deny that prices are going up sort of across the board, the present administration has been focusing on things that still cost about the same thing that they used to. For example, you're looking at a chart here. Bathrobes, things like that, they cost about the same that they cost in 1950 or 1960, because some of them were actually made in 1950 or 60 and they're still trying to sell them. Sewing machine repair kits. I bought one of these the other day. I don't actually sew, but I was going to use the fan motor for something else. It still only cost me about $7. I'm a real man badges. Those used to be pretty cheap. They're still pretty cheap. Although these days, I've seen a lot of badges that say I'm not a real man, or
I live in my mom's basement.
yeah, things like that. And then
I'm a beta and proud of it.
yeah, things like that. And then another category is fruits and vegetables that are oddly shaped. Now they're as nutritious as anything else. They're just oddly shaped. And for that reason, the price hasn't gone up. So, sort of related to the economy is this brand new bill, the Inflation Seduction Act, which has a whole lot of provisions addressing climate change. And some of what's in there is interesting. They are going to spend billions in salaries for solar panelists. So every time you talk about energy on a TV show, they're subsidizing solar panelists to come talk. That's a pretty good idea, right? And then $201 billion to study breaking wind power. I always knew there was something about breaking wind that was powerful, but I didn't understand that it was
A subject that's near and dear to my heart, as unfortunately you know, boss. But
yes. And then
They're revamping the Air Force for that.
yes, they are. And there are also scientists across the globe, and especially here and in Pasadena, are trying to develop electric cows The reason is pretty simple. An electric cow is not going to be emitting methane or anything like that into
Oh,
the...
but they're bad tippers.
Yeah, they're bad, and so are the zebras.
Yeah.
Hey!
Okay, I almost got it by him. Anyway, let me tell you about a subject that interests me. Every year, big name newspapers and big name literary magazines talk about new words and new phrases and new slang. So one of the words that's been introduced this year, it's an adjective, effing. And effing, generally speaking, means elaborately costumed. And it can also mean with certainty. And sometimes it means smelly or producing an olfactory sensation. Effing. I hear people using it all the time to describe not only friends, but also objects of worship and things like that.
Like this guy right here, he's effing rad. Because he
he's
like
effing rad.
in his spare time he makes like artisan cotton candy for shut-ins. Like seriously.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's all the effing. Yeah, with them. Effing with the homeless. That's the next shirt. I didn't wear it tonight.
Okay, a verb that I like is ungoober. Ungoober, the definition is kind of elusive, but it's sort of about rendering or portraying someone who is unsophisticated as somehow more sophisticated than they actually are. Here in Texas, we have a race for the governor, in which one of the central figures needs to be ungoobered, or possibly, as his opponents say, further goobered up. So anyway, okay, phrases. Phrases. One of the phrases I hear a lot at the water cooler these days is poison pillow talk. Now this you normally hear as a reference to Mr. Mike Lindell's fantastical stories about, you know, raising gasoline prices from a satellite in Italy and things like that. Another phrase that's popular in my neck of the woods is feeding my shark. Now, feeding my shark, I think, has something to do with being obsequious. That's about all I can figure out.
Well, actually, boss, my sources tell me it's a euphemism for a certain technique that young single men tend to. So they talk about feeding their shark now.
Okay, feeding their shark. Slang. One thing I've heard a lot of people say is, they say to someone who is causing a scene, they say, unplug the boo-hoo, which I guess means stop crying or something.
Or take the monkey out back.
And
Yes,
spank it. Yeah.
sometimes they say both those things in one paragraph, you know. And also I hear them talking about things that are Harveyed. My sister told me about her carpet being Harveyed. Somebody else told me their microwave was Harveyed, and they're talking about storm-type damage. So I guess you get that. Now, there's a couple of things I'd like to cover here as we get close to the end. One of those is the priorities that the Republican Party is announcing. In case they can take back the House and the Senate, that's their plan. People want to know, so what are you going to do? Because most of the time, they're just talking about what the Democrats are doing and saying it's too expensive. So Kevin McCarthy has promised that if the Republicans get back into power, there will be a probe of child sex slavery on Mars. I think Alex Jones will be testifying. I don't know if he's testifying in a district court or from the broadcast booth up on...
Well, they may be using some of the... We built a lot of
Yep.
Bucky Buckminster Fuller's geodesic domes, because
Yeah.
that's by far the most efficient volume to surface area, which is critical on Mars. I believe they're refurbishing those.
Okay. Okay. And then the other thing the Republicans are promising, they're saying a lot of women seem to be disappointed, by Roe versus Wade being overturned. So they're going to say every woman, you don't have a right to, to govern your own body, but you do have a right to own an AR-57, which brings me to the question of the Saudi Golf Classic, because this is something that has just opened up as a competitor to the PGA. The Saudi Golf Classic is open to people who are, let's say, has-beens, okay? And it's also open to women. But in keeping with traditions in Saudi Arabia, the women are not able to drive. So if from the tee, I guess they have to use a 2-iron or something to try to get down the fairway. But if they get down the fairway, you really have to watch out for the sand traps there, because they're really quicksand traps. And a lot of pro golfers who are known to dress foolishly, according to your book on eye exercises, they, they're foolish by virtue of their training.
I mean, it's so unfair. I mean, to me, that kind of a rule about the drive and the stick, and it's ruling by putts.
Yeah.
It is a very putsy thing.
It's going back to the days of king putt.
And I believe they're going to have both, especially with the women, they're going to have both members of the tour and dismembers of the tour.
Dismembers.
Being Saudi.
Now, I was planning to join, speaking of golf, I was planning to join Donald Trump when he goes over to the UK to look at his golf courses, but I can't go. I don't have any golf clubs anymore. I sold the one in Laguna del Rey to pay for a lawsuit. But Donald says he can't go because they took his passport accidentally. And I think, Paula, you have the same problem. I have right here, yeah, and you've got it right there. Paula seems to have quite a few passports. One of them, that one at the top left, that one says it belongs to Andromeda, and the one to the right of it, that belongs to Evangelical, and that one on the bottom left, that belongs to L.S. Cooper, and that other one belongs to Anaconda. Did you lose all of these passports, or are you just in the business of...
I mean, they're probably somewhere, I just, whatever, I don't know, I don't know.
So I guess you're not planning to go to the UK and look at the golf course?
I mean, maybe, I guess I just hadn't, thought about it yet or anything, I don't
Okay,
know.
well...
That's very emphatic. I mean, I love her values.
She has a value system, and all of us have a value system, and it's because of that value system that we feel a need to come back here on a regular basis and share with you people out there things that are being hidden from you by the people in the so-called responsible news community. We do what we do because, well, it's not because anybody is paying us for it. It's just because...
he feeds us afterwards.
Yeah, crudité. That's what it is. Yeah. So until next time, y'all eat well, and remember, feed that shark, or whatever you do for entertainment.
Don't jump it.
Don't jump it.
Jump it. Feed it some Bitcoin.
I come home from work sometimes.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
come home from my
Cut it off
job.
by accident.